Hello, everyone, and welcome. I missed last week, so this week I've got three important shares for you. To begin, on March 1st, an incredible woman and fashionista, Iris Apfel, died in her home in Palm Beach, Florida, at the age of 102. Her life was an inspiration to so many women who felt like as we age, the best thing to do is to hide away in corners. Iris showed women around the world how important it is to show up in whatever style feels right. Though, as many of you who are familiar with Iris would know, her motto is bigger is better, less is a bore. Iris, who was bigger than life, she loved every moment of being in the spotlight. I wrote a cover story about Iris for Forbes, and not only talking about her early life, but especially focusing on the fact that she became this fashion icon in her mid 80s. Yes. And believe it or not, her 90s were just as exciting. At 90, she became an instructor for the University of Texas. At 93, she starred in her documentary Iris, where she shared that she never meant to become famous. It, quote, just kind of happened. At 96, she published her book, Iris Apfel, An Accidental Icon. And at 97, she signed a modeling contract with the global agency IMG. Her representation was the same as supermodels Gigi, Carly, Kloss, and Kate Moss. So imagine that. But if that's not enough, Apfel was the oldest person whose image Mattel has ever used to produce a Barbie. So there you go. Lots of wonderful things to admire about Iris Apfel, to be sure. But for me, at this time, I'm really grateful that her life dispels the myth that age and competency are intrinsically linked, because they are most certainly not. In America, I know a lot of us are really sick and tired of all the back and forth about the age of the president. I know I am. But because this debate is really not about age per se, but it's using age as a barometer for competency. And that's not only ageist, but it's ableist. This week, one of my mentors, Ashton Applewhite, published an article in Next Avenue titled, "We Can't Shut Down the Conversation About Biden's Age. That's Fine with Me." She writes that in spite of the fact we're all weary of this endless banter about Biden's age, there is a benefit in having the conversation. We're actually addressing ageism in a very public way. Another benefit, she adds, is that it's really the conversation is teaching people how to distinguish between age and capability and ageism and ableism. Ashton's article sets a couple of things straight. One, it's not ageist to call Trump and Biden old because, well, they're old. Two, it is ageist to call someone too old for a job, just as it shows age bias if you say someone's too young for a job. Age-based assumptions are as harmful and ignorant as racial and gender stereotypes. And third, Ashton says it's ableist to shame people for memory lapses, as special counsel Robert Hurt did to Biden. So, shifting gears, I want to turn to an article in Esquire by Michael Clinton titled, "The Seismic Shift That's About to Change the American Workplace." Michael is the special media advisor to the CEO of the Hearst Corporation. And what Michael writes about isn't anything new. As far back as 1987, the Hudson Institute published the influential study Workforce 2000, and that study outlined 6 key challenges in the US economy that companies would need to address if they were going to be successful in the 21st century. Of those 6, 4 were directed at the workplace, and the top challenge was, wait for it, the necessity of managing an aging workforce. While think tanks like the Hudson Institute might be looking to the future to plan for the present. Most companies today are just looking to the next quarter. Many company leaders are clueless about the shifting demographics that are currently shaping today's workplace. And if they don't get up to speed soon, they're going to be hurting. And that's what Michael writes about in his article. Let me quote. Thanks to the rapidly changing demographics, U.S. companies are facing a historic talent drain. The solution is to move past ageism and invest in older employees. What is the quandary? Simply put, we're in the midst of a massive demographic shift that is going to completely upend the workforce. To make matters worse, most corporate leaders are approaching this dilemma, if they're giving it any attention at all, with a 20th century mindset, when finding solutions requires 21st century thinking. Over the past year, Age Equity Alliance has been honing in on this message. Last year's fall forum explained what we called the longevity mindset benefit, and that is company leaders need to understand that people are living longer and wanting and needing to work longer. Combined with declining birth rates, that means that less talent is coming up the pipelines. So they need to strategically plan for the best ways to attract, develop, and retain talent across the age spectrum. A longevity mindset is good for everyone, yet most people don't get it. So we have a lot of work still to do. Michael writes that leaders need to be more proactive because, quite frankly, they don't have an option. I like the way Lindsay Simpson of Work Redefined out of the UK frames it. She says, if you don't have an age strategy, you don't have a growth strategy. And that's exactly what the longevity mindset framework does. It helps leaders understand and create a strategy that actively engages not just the older workers, but everyone, all ages, all stages. That's a wrap for this week. Thank you so much for joining.